That's a snazzy track.
It is, yeah. So welcome to Exploring the Ozarks. We're here with John Farmer de la Torre.
Hey there,
Here's
everyone.
John. Yeah, so... well, yeah. Yay, John. Woo. Yeah. Matt, sorry, it's not just for you.
It sounds like football.
This is actually chip, this is chip music.
Yeah.
So this is all the when they first designed video games, they had synthesizers that they did all the music off of, and I forget exactly why. My brother does chip music, so he was telling me all this history, but all the music was generated electronically on these chips, so they called it chip music.
Yeah,
and it was made specifically for Nintendo and Super Nintendo. They actually have specific synthesizers that was designed just for those gaming systems. So you can actually go out now and buy those specific chips and packs that they use for those games, and you can use them to make this kind of
the old is new
want.
again, and it is a very distinctive sound.
It is.
It's evocative.
So
of
speaking
a
of,
period.
we will need to find you your own theme song, because this is John's segment, everybody.
Hey, hi. Yeah, I think I was introduced here some time ago that we would do these stories about the Ozarks.
We'll probably, put your podcast out first and then release this one. So you'll have seen him.
Yeah, you will have seen me.
We tend to pre-record then put them out, a couple months later. But
that's right.
I think with John's stuff, it'll be quicker turnaround time. So
we'll see. I mean, I'm going out into the field and just kind of looking around and keeping my eyes open for stories out in the Ozarks. And
what do we call it? Our Ozark. What was it? I had a funny name that I put. Our Ozarkian correspondent. Or something like that.
Foreign correspondent to the Ozarks.
Well, let us know. I mean, John here has several stories he's going to tell us, which is the main point of this thing. But let's start with, kind of rehashing real quick 1 minute, like your history and how you got into doing this stuff. Yeah,
sure. So I was raised in the rural part of the rural Ozarks.
Rural,
yes,
very rural.
yes. We didn't even have Amish. I mean, it was so far.
That is very rural.
Yeah, it was so remote they didn't even.
Excuse me
live
while
there.
I start this. Okay, there we go. Our very high-tech clock that we have over there.
No, this is we grew up with pulling water from a well, heating water in a basin, and you get underneath it at the end of the day and take your shower, burning corn cobs for heat,
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, no, it was rustic, but it was great. I loved every bit of it.
But then you went off to college.
Then I went to school out east. I went to school in Boston. I got scholarships to go to school in Boston University. And then I graduated from Georgetown University School of Foreign Service, which was this elite diplomatic training academy. It's where Bill Clinton went to school, the current king of Spain, who was a buddy sort of in school and whatnot, all these kind of people. But I was like this public...
Just drop that real quick. Hey, can we get the king of Spain on the podcast, by the way?
I've called him before. At the time I was looking to get him as a client I was doing some...
okay, gotcha. So he is accessible.
He's accessible to me because I have his number.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you may have changed it after that conversation, but you shouldn't be using this number for this. But
okay, gotcha.
And actually, I called him out there. Hello, hey, Felipe, and he's like, bueno. And anyway, he's the king now. But then he was just a crown prince. Anyway,
right.
I was just a public school educated, country boy, hillbilly kid that did well. And
it speaks volumes that you got into that school. I mean, that just shows your interest in the world, and you want to get out there and explore new things, and that kind of led you back here. I mean, you ended up going to journalism school at Mizzou, which is amazing.
After that, I went to New York City, worked in New York City and Wall Street, then I worked down in Hollywood as a TV producer, documentary producer for places like National Geographic, whatnot. Yeah. I worked at Miramax for a bit, very low position,
I need to keep remembering that name. I keep telling people about that. I'm like, it was some company. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was a good time to be there because Tarantino was making Kill Bill 1 and Kill Bill 2 and Cold Mountains. They're making a lot of interesting films and whatnot.
Yeah, this is before CGI really kicked off too.
Yeah, I did
right at that edge.
That's right. And so the budgets were very interesting back then. The filmmaking was very interesting, Yeah. And then after that, I went to journalism and came back to Missouri because we have a great journalism school in Missouri.
People don't realize that. I mean, Mizzou is like the top ranked in the country.
It's the top ranked. It's the number one school in the nation. So
Columbia, yay Mizzou. Good job.
Yeah, well, thank you there too. And it's good to be back with family and to come back home. So
and then down here, I mean, we've done a radio show together.
Yeah.
And then you ran for public office. And then you've worked for local charities, like some big charities around here.
Yes. Yeah.
And now you're doing this, which is exciting. We're happy to have you.
This is great. Yeah, this is a great return. I'm very, very proud and happy about the nonprofit work it did because it was through the pandemic. I was in a leadership position, so I was able to help a lot of people by being a leader that way. About 25,000 people.
Wow.
Were helped
big
with
number.
rent. Well, it's 4 years worth. So rent assistance, utilities assistance, people who were recovering from disasters, from their homes burning down. I mean, all kinds of, really difficult times.
Well, this is a good segue into like what this segment is more about. Is it's about the everyday stories of people in Ozark.
Yes.
That's right. Everyday Ozarkians. Maybe that was the title of this. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. Maybe John will have come up with a different title.
We'll come up with something.
That was one of the things that prompted this segment. Is like, Matt and I talk to a lot of like just people, like bigger name people, and we go out in trails and waterways, but it's really the everyday people of the Ozarks that make up the Ozarks. I mean, it's their stories that build the area, and it's their people that have been here for hundreds of years and that have built up these stories over time.
That's right. In my journalism work in graduate school, because I was working on a master's degree up there.
Yeah.
I focused on visual journalism, photojournalism, and documentary filmmaking, and so my interest developed, and I was just kind of curious how
I've seen some of your photos that you did with that. Those were some impressive photos.
Well, thank you. And,
if you have a chance to share those on the podcast, we may
I'd be happy to
right now. Yeah,
I'd be happy to. Yeah, I mean, I just think that people are beautiful, and I met, and these are people. I go out and photograph people that never got any attention. They were never the focus of attention, and they were beautiful in their own way. And many of them had very hard lives or living lives that really go unrecognized. But I wanted
you do a great job in capturing all that stuff.
Well,
that's another reason why I was excited. See, we're just gonna have you on here, and we're gonna fill you up with compliments.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna turn all red and blush here.
There you go.
That's why I wore a red shirt, so
it all matches.
That's right.
But that is a big part of exploring the Ozarks. Is we are very positive. We're not trying to bring anybody down here. But I mean, some of the stories that we're talking about here, I mean, our main segment tends to be a bit more uplifting and just very strict, like all that fun stuff. But this segment's going to be a bit more realistic.
Yeah.
We're still going to be positive and look at the bright side of things, but life sometimes is just hard.
It is. I have a lot of love for this area and for the people who live here, and I have a lot of sympathy and compassion for what they're going through, because I came from that. I came from working class. If I hadn't gotten lucky and gone to school, I probably would have been working in a steel factory myself. Yeah. Or the factory where my mother worked.
Yeah. So what we got today then? I mean, as far as stories go, I know you got a couple. Well,
we'll talk about some of the, kind of the more difficult stuff sometime. But today I just thought I would talk about where the Ozarks kind of fits.
Yeah. And I should clarify, we're not always going to talk about difficult stuff.
No. In fact,
I just say be prepared. Some of these things we'll talk about here.
We'll put a spin on it. We'll put a spin on everything. It's just to give like a fuller picture of what the
Ozarks are.
Yeah. And so I thought maybe we talk a little bit today about where the Ozarks fits in the United States. Like now.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So as of in 2020, and guys, everyone probably knows this, that there's a census every 10 years that the U.S. government has held. It's the United States Decennial Census, where there's a head count of every person in the United States, and it's been done since 1790 without fail.
Wow. Even through the pandemic, I actually remember that was a big deal, because I think they delayed it a little bit, but not much, and they still went out and did a lot of census work.
Not much, and they had to modify their operations to get it done. In the 2010 census, I lived in Los Angeles, and I started out as an enumerator, the guy that knocked on the door, like the bottom of the pole. And then I got promoted about 11 times, and I wound up running Los Angeles, the field operations for the city of LA, the nation's second largest city, and in that, it was I got to learn a lot about the census and really appreciate it.
Yeah.
In any case, it's kind of ironic or fun. I mean, serendipitous that I worked there in LA, but then the census came to my town, Hartville, where I grew up, Hartville, Missouri, in Wright County, 33 miles east of here.
I have a friend, Glenn Sanders. He's actually from around that area too, on a dairy farm. So
yes, well, there were more back in the day, but
he brags about what you're going to talk about all the time.
Well, it's Wright County. Wright County is out there about 33 miles, and a couple counties east of here. The county seats are in the center of the county. They built Highway 60 through there back in the 80s, and now a lot of these county seats are isolated in the center of counties, and they're kind of like, they're towns that aren't really growing, and they're kind of just,
Sure.
Well, now Hartville, Missouri is the center of the United States. Literally is the population center. The census does this thing that they kind of balance out the entire population of the United States and figure out if they were balanced on a sheet of paper, where would the center be? It's called the population center.
So the fulcrum is
Hartville, Missouri.
Wow.
And so that is the heart of America for the next 10 years. And in September, the director of the United States Census Bureau came to Hartville. I met him. He's a really cool guy, actually. He's a statistician, a doctor, big math guru.
I find, my statistician teacher was very funny and outgoing, which I didn't expect from
this guy is a rock concert photographer.
Really?
So we hit it off over photography.
Yeah, of course.
He's like, I can't go out and do any photography now because of my position. They won't let me go out and do it. And I was like,
right.
I understand. And so for the next, however long he's running the entire U.S. Census, and by the way, the decennial census operation is the largest peacetime mobilization anywhere in the world every 10 years. Yeah. Outside of like a military, and and so they build. So
you're talking like at least one person per town, or like it covers an area, of course.
It's about 500,000 employees that are put together every 10 years, and they're all trained from scratch.
And now I'm just imagining them all converging on Hartville.
Well,
for a big census party.
They did in September. It was a big thing where like all the local folks in Hartville got together along with staff from Washington D.C. and the head geographer of the U.S. Census, and this lady who has the actual fulcrum point right on her property. And
okay.
And so she has the honor of beating people off her property for the next 10 to 20 years. Very sweet lady. But the actual center is on a cliff up on her property and everything. And so she was there, and the director was there, and I was there, and we all kind of hung out and took pictures and talked about.
Did they like drive a golden spike into the ground or something?
They apparently just put a little like metal plate out in the middle of it's going to be on the cliff, but there's a ceremonial plate in town, like a thing in town. Yeah. But that is the heart of America, and it is Hartville. And the interesting thing is that the United States West now is pretty much, in terms of migration, inside the, migration around the United States, there isn't going to be a lot of population movements predicted right now. The West is about as full as it's going to be.
Yeah, due to water and just
all sorts of reasons.
And development and all like things. Well, plus a lot of people are moving out of those places to go to places like Texas or Florida.
Yes, but not enough to really like move the centers. They may move the population center a little south, but it's not going to move it further west. And that population center point has moved from 1790 from around Washington D.C., the colonies, out to Missouri, and for the last 100 years been in Missouri. But now it's probably going to be in Missouri for a long time.
It'd be an interesting map to see. I think to see like all the center points over the past.
Yes, and you can find that. You can find it online and
find it, John, and upload it. We'll put it in the podcast.
Well, in 2010 is up by Plato, and now it's moved down to Hartville, and for the next 10 to 20 years, it's probably going to bounce around
in that area,
the Ozarks. Yeah, really. So we're going to be.
So we can say the. Well, go ahead and say that.
We're going to be the heart of America for quite a while. And that's what the head geographer of the Bureau told me, and it makes sense. And so...
Yeah, I think we always called ourselves the Heartland anyway, didn't we? Like
we have.
Missouri and the mid-America.
The Midwest,
The Midwest. Heartland of America.
So we got a claim to fame for the entire country. So we got that. Now,
it's not the only claim to fame.
No.
There's also a giant fork behind an advertising agency here in town.
Yes.
Does that count?
Well, it's a different kind of fame, sure.
Actually, I need to bring Bob. Bob Noble was actually, and he's the person that founded that agency that had that giant fork. And he was in here for another podcast that we did in the other studio. And you'd have him here to talk about it, or you should go and talk to him about it. I would like to talk about it. Yeah, maybe we can pick his brain about his stories. Now that was a good day. I want to just mention that's a good day for the Ozarks getting that kind of recognition. I want to mention a bad day, and this will give you a little bit of the flavor of the show. That when we talk bad, we're not getting that bad. But I want to talk about kind of a bad day. We're going to go back a little ways, about dinner time, about 300 million years ago. Oh, goodness.
Yes. When up on Highway 5, just north of Lebanon,
I think Highway 5 has been around that long, yeah.
Yeah. But if you look off on the side of the road there, on the county line, you will see the remnants of a meteorite impact from 300 million years ago. There are very few actual visible meteorite impacts on Earth.
I didn't know that was in here in the Ozarks.
Oh, yeah. It was a 400-foot wide, 5 million ton meteorite that slammed into Earth at 40 miles a second.
Wow.
When it penetrated the Earth 7,000 feet and made a crater almost 4 miles wide.
Wow.
And it was a very bad day for the Ozarks.
Probably for the planet, actually.
Well,
maybe all the northern hemisphere.
The scientists think it was part of a serial impact, meaning it was a series of meteorites hit in a line along the 38th parallel. So there's a whole bunch of impacts in this one line. But
so
this
something
is a big
broke
one.
Up and then just kind
came
of
into Earth
scattered it all over the
And one of them landed here, and you could see it on the side of the highway, and it's a pretty big impact. Now there aren't very many super visible ones in the world right now because the rate of erosion.
The one in Arizona is the one I think about.
Yes, the Winslow crater. I've been there. I've spent a really great sunrise. If you walk over there and you get there early enough, you can stand on one side of the crater and watch the sun come over the crater lip.
Yeah.
And watch the shadows.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's a great way. I mean, there's nothing else to do there.
But you can't do that. Can you do that here? With the
this is so eroded now. The one in Arizona, I mean, it's pristine, desert environment, and it's much newer impact. This is a much older impact. This is 5 times older than the impact that killed the dinosaurs. You know, so it's pretty eroded.
For people that mow grass around in the Ozarks, we know how quickly the weeds take over.
Yes, so. They've done a job on this crater. Okay, but it is still kind of interesting, because when you drive back, that is a major event. Now, 300 million years ago, it's a while back, but it's not that while back. In terms of the life of the Earth, it's like if you had a 24-hour clock, this would be 7 minutes to midnight. So it's not that long ago,
So you're saying 300 or 3 million?
300 million.
Okay.
But in terms of the life of the Earth, the 5.5 billion 4.5 billion years that the Earth's been around, I think it's 5. This is like 7 minutes to midnight.
Interesting.
Now, what's interesting is that
in perspective. Yeah, I mean, the dinosaurs died out after that, didn't they?
Yes. So I mean, like a couple minutes before midnight, and they seem like a long time to us. Now, NASA has a near Earth observatory that kind of monitors, for asteroids and other potential meteorites that were hit.
It's a big deal. Yeah,
it's a very big deal. Very big deal.
They track thousands and thousands of these objects.
We don't have Bruce Willis to save us now if anything happens.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So how many of these meteorites are floating around Earth that are the same size as the one that hit Lebanon?
A lot.
Camden, 25,000.
Yeah.
The same size.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're tracking them.
There's one that's supposed to be close to Earth in the next decade, I think, or the next 2040, I think, or something like that. It's supposed to get within 500 miles or something like that. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but it seems like it's
until there's a wobble or something, and
exactly.
it gets sucked in.
I don't know if solar flares would affect it. I don't know if solar flares do gravity. But anyway, that's another discussion.
Yeah, that's another discussion. but I mean, it's just kind of interesting. Is let's keep that funding going for NASA and
yes, SpaceX,
watching out for this kind of stuff. SpaceX had
all
a bad
those private
day.
companies.
Yeah, we were talking earlier. So SpaceX, Elon Musk launched
that'll date this thing. Yeah.
No, we shouldn't talk about that.
Oh no, it's fine. We can because it's fine. It is what it is. SpaceX launched today when we recorded this.
That's right.
420, which is also an important number in SpaceX culture.
Oh, it is 420. Elon. He did that on purpose.
No. It was supposed to launch on Monday. It really was.
Oh yeah. He's like, I got a great idea. Let's move it.
A valve froze that day. But anyway,
that's what they say.
That's what they say. You're right. It's PR thing.
PR thing. I think it's PR.
Elon's like, wait, there's 10 seconds. We're gonna stop it, and we're gonna wait until Thursday. Just dump everything. We're good.
Well,
but that Starship did go up, and it ended up not being able to complete its mission because it didn't separate from the boosters. But I only mention that because if an asteroid like the one that hit the Ozarks comes again, a ship like Starship could be the thing that goes up there and helps redirect it, because they actually just had a redirectional mission that they did on the meteor a little while ago, and they ran a small satellite into it just full speed, and it actually made quite the deviation. I mean, nothing huge, but if you hit something that it's a 1 degree shift, do it 10,000 miles away, it's going to completely miss something the size of
it makes
the Earth.
all the difference in the world. Whether the total difference from whether it hits the planet or misses it completely, bounces off the atmosphere. This is one guy I want to interview. Okay, I'm keeping an eye on the time here, but this is. Boy, I'm talking about bad days. This guy worked at JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Yeah. And we sent off a probe to Mars, right?
Several, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this one didn't make it. And it didn't make it because of this one guy. Because he forgot to convert, I guess, the English system to metric.
Oh, that happens so often.
Yes. Well, you don't want to do that kind of a mistake when you're flying a $100 million probe and you're trying to land in the Martian atmosphere.
6 months away somewhere else. with an 8-minute delay.
Yes, he bounced the thing off the atmosphere, the Martian atmosphere, like a frisbee.
Oh no!
I don't know. You may be working at McDonald's now. I don't know. No offense to McDonald's. That's
cool.
a great. What's that?
JPL's pretty cool. They may be like, you know what?
I don't think anybody's that cool when they send up a probe and this is your one job. Your one job is to land this thing.
With anything of that nature, it went through multiple hands before that calculation was finalized. So it's like
that's true. But there was somebody. Well, I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Was this in the 90s as well? Like, was this a while ago?
No, this is probably in the 2000s, as I remember.
Interesting.
I don't know about anything like that in the 90s, but I do remember that particular one. And there are lots of cases of people really messing up at work.
Yes. Well, this is another fun story. Really quickly, Gimli glider. Look it up if you want to find the whole story. But the whole thing was a 737 ran out of fuel halfway through its flight.
Oh.
Because they didn't convert it properly. They used metric instead of imperial units, so it ended up halfway through the flight, they just stopped. And they're like, and that was
my gosh.
The ground control missed it, the pilot missed it, because I worked on airplanes at an airport for a while, so I understand this whole checklist thing. You go through like 3 or 4 people looking at it. Fuel loads are checked by multiple people, and everybody missed it. And it's like, it just happens sometimes.
It does, of course.
Yeah. But anyway, that's in Canada. The other thing you're talking about is in Mars.
Well, here's an Ozark story. My dad was a pilot, and he...
that's true, yeah. He flew out at Springfield for a while, yeah.
Well, he managed an airport in Mansfield.
Oh, okay.
But he did probably flew airports all over here. And Andy Anderson, if you're in Mansfield, I'd like to get in touch with you again. And so you can tell me the details of the story. But apparently my dad was flying a plane from Mansfield to around West Plains, filled with... obviously the fuel, but I think it's a crop duster, so it's carrying other stuff. Anyway, the weight wasn't quite calculated.
The weights and balances, yeah.
Well, they kind of skimmed the treetops for about 70 miles. As I hear the story, it was they kind of sweated bullets.
I have a story like that coming out of West Plains. Yeah, because I have hours on flying planes. I'm working towards my pilot's license. This was a while ago, though. I haven't had a chance to finish it. But we were flying out of West Plains, and the airplane just shuddered and lost power. And my instructor was like, "Did you do that?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, well, we're going to turn around and land." I was like, "Oh, is this an emergency?" So anyway, he had me turn around and land it. But it turned out it was something called carb ice, where if you don't do specific things inside the carburetor, it can actually develop moisture, and then it ices when you get up to we were at 4,000 feet, and it kills power because you don't get enough. I think with the carburetor, it's because there's not enough exhaust going out the back of the engine. Yeah. You can correct me, if mechanics out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd be interested to know what happened with that story, to see if it was a power issue or if it was a weight imbalance or if it was...
The Anderson family and in Mansfield, Missouri are a family of pilots. The old man Andy Anderson was a pilot. His son, Don Anderson, is a pilot. Don, if you're out there, you told me the story. I'd love to get it retold again so I can record it. And the son was a pilot too, they would build old planes. And so on that, the city of Mansfield put out a 3,000-foot strip, and at the time there was a shoe factory.
3,000-foot strip for our airport?
Well, there was at the time there was a shoe factory in that town.
So they're getting cargo planes all the time.
Exactly. And that shoe factory was eventually bought by, I believe it was a Korean company. At the time it was owned by a family out of Rhode Island, a company out of Rhode Island.
Right.
And so their executives would fly in and land on that strip. So they had a nice strip. And, the city, went through and put that in. That was really nice. It's still there today.
It's a great economic boost to the area.
It is. But, civilian and rural aviation is kind of a tough deal right now. So people park their planes there and they kind of fly and so on. But, there's still flyers around.
That's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fun stories like that. There's a place out in Monette that I used to carpet clean out near Monette. And they have Jack Henry has a headquarters out there. And they actually, I knew the airport manager over there, his name's Howard, great guy, but he, that company, Jack Henry, they have all their executives fly out of that airport. So it's this really small, little tiny airport, but it has this really nice runway and literally the actual terminal is as big as this room right here, almost.
Wow.
So, but Jack Henry has their own wing where they just have all their executives fly out of that, and so they have their own private jet. So it's a nice airport, but
wow,
you don't expect.
How long is that runway?
It's probably 3,000 feet, like the other one. I mean, it's meant for private jets and smaller jets, but it's definitely long enough to handle a jet as opposed to just a prop. So anyway, now we're getting into aviation stuff, but that's part of the Ozarks.
It's Ozarks, it's Ozarks. There are these little private airports around here, There's
I flew out of Gimli, which is down in Ozark. It's a small little airport community. Yeah, it's an airport neighborhood.
Yeah,
which I didn't know if people.
What is the airport neighborhood? I've never heard of that.
It's really cool. You live
in your plane or something? Or?
No, there are people that live in the hangars though. So the Gimli is an asphalt runway out down there in Ozark off of W. And people, what they did is they were all airplane, they were pilots, so they built their houses, and instead of tool shops in the backyard, they have hangars in the backyard with their planes.
Oh yeah.
And so they've built these $500,000 homes around this strip, and they all have their own hangars with their own planes. And some people build big hangars and put apartments in the upper half of the hangar and have their planes down below. And then they just the guy that I was taking lessons from lived here, and he actually, and this may be true for a lot of people who live there, he worked for Cessna. So he would live down here, but every morning he would hop into his Cessna 172 and fly up to St. Louis 40-minute flight. It's a 40-minute flight. It's not a bad commute, right?
Right.
And then he'd work for Cessna and then just fly back home. And so a lot of people have that, either they're really into the hobby or they just,
that's
they have a job.
Well, the city of Mansfield let us live on the airport, and so we had our house there
cool.
too. It was, so I can I get that thing about being around aviation culture and growing up around planes and all that. It's definitely.
I'll share this secret dream of mine.
Yeah,
I would love to be an airport manager and own an airport. I think it'd just be the coolest thing in the world.
Call Branson.
Well, with that, we probably need to start wrapping up. We're running out of time.
So, that was a bad day in the Ozarks, but there are lots of bad days and good days. And the bad days, it's all about keeping perspective.
Right.
We got to keep our perspective here. But
this meteor hit, but it recovered. Everything recovered.
It did.
It's nice around here.
And the amazing thing is that probably every square inch of the Ozarks has history.
Yeah.
Yeah. And history disappears pretty quickly unless somebody remembers. So that's why we tell the stories.
And that's what this segment's all about.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about this.
Right on. Me too.
This first one is only, 25, 30 minutes, but I'm sure they'll get a little bit longer as we go along, and we'll get some really interesting people in here. And of course, John will keep telling these stories like this. I'm super excited about it.
I will. And I brought some video for you also, as we clear out of here, a message from the Bureau, the United States Bureau itself.
Yeah, they'll probably share it separately from this, but
all right,
maybe we'll tag on to this. I don't know.
We're
still playing with this. Yeah, we'll figure out the format.
All right.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David. I appreciate being on here.
Right. Thanks again for listening to Exploring the Ozarks. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our social media channels to help us keep exploring the stories of the Ozarks. If you're looking for more ways to support our show, we have sponsorships for businesses and Patreon for individual supporters. Check the links in the description for more details. Thanks for your support, and keep exploring the Ozarks.